my name is Dan Clark, and as I told you before, I was 40 years in the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was born and raised in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and at age 40, I decided to leave. I decided to throw off all the beliefs programmed into me since birth and start out on my own individual journey to find God and all His promises, and I absolutely did. And I'm happy to say 11 years later, I'm absolutely free. I feel whole and complete. And now I think it's just my duty and my privilege and my honor to expose some of the false teachings of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm just excited to do that. It feels so good to be able to help people avoid the error that I got into and that my family is still into. And as I said on the last video, I want to tell you the process for coming back into Jehovah's organizations after you've been disfellowshipped. You're a baptized person, brother or sister, you got disfellowshipped, and you've made, it was kind of like 3 strikes and you're out. And they put you out, and so here's the process for coming back. It's absolutely not like the prodigal son. I don't know if you know that story about the prodigal son who wanted his own piece of the pie. He wanted to live life as he wanted to live, so his father said, go live your life and go do your thing. And the boy gets in all kinds of trouble and prostitutes, spends all his money. And anyways, he decides to come back home. And when he comes back home, his father, who represents God, this was a story Jesus told, his father, who represents God, runs to him, puts his arm around him. And as he's trying to talk, this kid, saying, Father, I've sinned, Father, I've done wrong, his father basically puts his hand over his mouth, takes him in, puts a big ring on his finger, puts a beautiful garment around him, cooks a big dinner, and throws a big party and says, thank God you're home. That's not what happens in the witness organization at all. When you decide to come back, say you've went on some wayward course and you've done some things you ought not do according to the Watchtower, have sex with a woman outside, or this or that, or whatever it is. It could be a number of things. But the elders decide to disfellowship you. Here's the process for coming back. First of all, you meet with the elders and they tell you, here's what you got to do. You got to come in after the meeting starts. That means after the meeting starts, everybody sits down. You sneak in the back and you sit in the back of the hall. Okay? Before the meeting's over, after the prayer, you sneak out so nobody talks to you. Okay? Now you do this for several months, because they want to see what they call works that befit repentance. They want to see you working, you're there, and sort of this beggarly, I want to come back, I want to come back. So you show up meeting after meeting, nobody talking to you, coming in after they sit down, leaving before they get up. Then after 6 months to a year, if you can believe it, not when you've just turned around and said, God, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake, but after months, you go back and you finally write a letter to those elders, to those same ones, those same 5, 6 elders, whatever, that disfellowshipped you. And you say, brothers, I want to come back. I realize the sin that I've done wrong, and I've repented, and I want to come back into the organization. Usually it takes a couple of those letters, believe it or not. Can you imagine being a person that's sneaking in and out of the hall? Nobody can talk to you, you're shamed. Do you think it would be difficult to come back? It would absolutely be difficult to come back. And like the prodigal son and the story that Jesus gave about our brother, there's no running to you. There's no embracing. They don't even applaud anymore. It used to be when somebody came back into the whole hall would give this wonderful applaud, we're so glad you're back. They don't do that anymore. They say you should have been there. You should have stayed where you were at. We're not going to applaud you coming back. So they're not even following the admonition in the Bible. 2 places in the Bible it says Jesus left the 99 to go look for the one, and when he found the one stray sheep, he brought it back, and there was a big party. It said there's a big party in heaven over one sinner who turns back. The other one says that there was a similar story about the coin. It says the drachma coin. The lady searched all night until she found it, and then she had a big party. The prodigal son, when he returned home, there was a party. There was a joyfulness. There was a happiness to them coming home. That's not the case in the Jehovah's Witness organization at all. Absolutely not scriptural. Absolutely judgmental and harsh. Almost impossible to return. I hope you never have to experience that. But that's just one more thing I wanted to tell you about the organization that they would never tell you until you're fully indoctrinated into their thinking and their beliefs. It gets really crazy as you go along, as you continue to be sucked in like a vacuum through their books and through their literature and through their ideologies. You completely lose yourself. That's why people will follow for years, even though the information has changed and the prophecies don't come true. They continue to follow. Why? Because they're indoctrinated. They're not thinking for themselves. Why would somebody sit in the hall for a year, in the back of the hall? Sit there for a year, send them a letter and then get rejected, begging to come back. That's not God. That's not the God I know today. So, just one more thing I wanted to share with you. Next, I want to talk about the prophecy that I was involved in when I was in the Jehovah's Witness and why I left. It's pretty eye-opening. I'd like to share that with you next. Thank you very much.